This podcast is brought to you by PPIS,
a non-profit organization committed to support women of all ages navigating their various roles in society, as well as nurturing their children and families.
Visit ppis.sg for more information and follow their social media platforms to stay updated. Inspiring women, strengthening families. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Outside In with your host Yanto
and Farah, your go-to source for honest conversations about relationships and marriage.
So if you are ready, let's go. Dia punya intro hari ni beza ya?
Yes.
It's a bit different today.
PPIS.
Yes, PPIS. Alhamdulillah. Today is the very first episode that we have together with PPIS.
Betul.
So we definitely want to find out a lot more.
Correct. The two people in front of me right now, I feel very
She feels
very nervous.
Kenapa awak nervous?
Because they are very important people in PPIS.
Yes, satu adalah Presiden, like satu pula adalah CEO. Kita apa rasa juga. Yeah, so of course, without further ado, we'd like to introduce our guest for today, PPIS President, Associate Professor Razwana Begum, as well as PPIS CEO Aidaroyani Adam. Welcome to Outside In.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah, this is I would say an introductory episode for PPIS as well, and I think we'd like to thank you guys for thank the both of you for being here on Outside In, because throughout the past 2 years of Outside In, we had a lot of different stories from various walks of life, sharing different family backgrounds and whatnot. And last year also, if you remember, yes, we had
3 episodes.
3 episodes with PPIS also.
Yeah, with all their different centers, Sim Academy, Oasis, and Inspirasi.
Yeah, so this time around we have the President and CEO.
And also the agenda for today, of course, we want to introduce PPIS to our listeners. I'm pretty sure some of you guys already listened to the 3 episodes that were mentioned, and so today we want to introduce fully lah.
Yes, because maybe before we begin kan, I ask you lah.
Okay, you ask me.
Before you know of PPIS kan, have you ever heard of PPIS before?
Yes, I've heard PPIS, but I wasn't sure what it does. You get what I mean? Okay. Yeah, but I've heard people saying PPIS, and I know there is a kindergarten.
I also.
PPIS.
Back then I know that PPIS is a kindergarten. Yeah. But I think lo and behold, because of what we are doing with Outside In, we know that it's not just a kindergarten lah.
Yeah, they have a lot of
that's why
services.
we have the both of them today to actually share with us more what PPIS is about.
Yeah.
So maybe you can introduce yourself to our listeners. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe I'll start first. Yeah, I think firstly I would like to acknowledge the great work that 2 of you are doing for families and including marriages, and for giving that space for women to be able to share. So it's quite inspiring, So continue with your good work and great work, insyaAllah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you will, do more such episodes and all that. Okay, so my name is Razwana. I think you've introduced me already. I am the president of PPIS. I was elected last year, September. And I've been with PPIS since about 5 years ago, just when we came out of COVID. So that's when I became a board member. And then subsequently I took on the role of a vice president. And then now I'm, Alhamdulillah, I'm elected as the president.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. In terms of my other roles, at the university, I'm heading a new degree. It's called Public Safety and Security.
Public Safety and Security.
So this new degree is a degree that we conceptualized together with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we have both, officers from the home team, as well as public, students taking up the degree
to be the next security, to be the next homeland security,
to keep our society and all that safe.
What about
so thank you for having us on your show. I understand you are reaching your 2 years Outside In podcast, so congratulations. I have to acknowledge the good work that you are doing too. I'm Aida, CEO of PPIS. I've been with PPIS for 9 months. It's really really a privilege, right, to be heading the organisation and working really with dedicated, I would like to call them talents of PPIS, and also definitely working closely with the board, right, the board of PPIS together with Prof. Razwana as the president of PPIS. And I've been in the social service sector most of my career. Had a short stint in the public service, but I think most of my career has been in social service, and it's really my passion, and making a difference, to the lives of children, families.
I think most of the mothers, maybe a handful of you guys watching this might recognize Aida.
Because even for my niece punya graduation, she was there, because my niece is in Seven Oaks as well.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a show. So I actually saw, the funny part was during that graduation, right? I told her, do you think I should go up to Madam Aida and talk to her? But alhamdulillah, we are here today.
Yes.
So it was I would say, talking about social work, I think personally also, I do not have the qualifications to do social work, but I had an aspiration back then when I was younger to help the community. I wanted to go to sociology, to take a degree in sociology and or even psychology, to learn about human behavior and whatnot. But I didn't really study hard enough, I guess.
You volunteer quite a bit.
Yeah, I did a bit of volunteering.
That's
also.
That's good. Yeah.
But I think right now, this is I would say outside in is the best way that we, both of us, can reach out to the community as well. So insyaAllah, with PPIS on board, we can value add even more to our community.
And you can contribute in your own unique and special ways.
Yes. And also to write on what Yanto said, because we know that we open up like a platform, a hotline for you guys to submit your stories, right? And some of you guys' stories is a little bit, we can only offer a listening ear, but we want to we want to take the extra step to value add into your lives, and this is what the partnership with PPIS is all about.
Yes,
it's to offer you all the solutions or potential solutions and services that you might need, because some of you guys are talking about abuse and like very serious stuff so we can't really do anything except give you the platform to curahkan hati, but
like a safe space. So maybe perhaps maybe one of you can share with us a bit more about PPIS punya vision, or the mission that you have especially for 2025.
I think our vision is very much about empowering women, strengthening families. I would think that we've been doing this work for more than 73 years. It's going to be 73 years. So even though we started off, with childcare, tadika, at that time memang there was a demand ada demand kan. So but now we have moved into many different areas, including running 2 family service centers. That will be very helpful, for your listeners to know that they can approach us if they have any issues or any problems. We also run Inspirasi. We also do Sharia court, pre-divorce, unfortunately, right? It's like that sometimes this happens. Counseling, and we also do fostering. So that's also something else that we do for children. And we have a halfway house for women. So that's our latest, initiative.
Wow.
In terms of the vision, we have a new CEO, right? And she's dynamic, as she said. It's her passion, to help the social services and all that. And she's creating a lot of new, initiatives and waves. Do you want to share more?
Sure. Yeah. So I think if I may just add to the range of services that PPIS have, it's our core services is across the continuum, right? From the very young, as you know, the Taman Asuhan, and now it's the Seven Oaks. All through the lifespan, right? From children, we have student care centers, right? And of course, when you are starting your families and all that, and marriages, and through your marriage at whatever stage of life and marriage you are at, I think PPIS has been a strong organization all these years, and it has grown strength in strength over the years. And one capability that it has developed is definitely in research and engagement. So other than just providing direct services, right, or intervention to support women and families, our RAID, what we call the research and engagement department, right, conducts research, right, on women issues, understand the challenges, right, and the motivations of Muslim women in Singapore, and how, and with the knowledge and the data that we have, how can we better support our Muslim women in Singapore? Again, in whatever stage of life they are, right? And that's an important piece of work beyond the services that PPIS provides. In terms of direction, in the immediate and future direction, other than the research, we are also very serious about the talents that we have in PPIS. I think we have I'm blessed, to have a team in PPIS who's very dedicated and committed, to the work that they do.
Wow.
I mean, it's an amanah, right? To be able to, you wake up every day with a mission, to make a difference, whatever little it is, to the lives, of the families, and the spouses and all that. Yeah. So it's also about building capacity of our talents. I like to call them talents because they are talents, right? So they're just not staff and officers or just social workers. They are talents, and there's a lot of potential in everyone, and they have a lot to contribute. So it's also really about talent management and leveraging on data, and knowledge, to help us better innovate in terms of our practices, right? So that we are able to better meet the needs, right, of the people we serve, as well as make an impact.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice. We've had the opportunity to meet some of the talents from PPIS.
Exactly.
Yes, they are wonderful, wonderful people.
Yes, definitely.
And I get inspired by them, I mean, just,
We've had one talking about fostering. We had one family therapies.
And the young marriages.
Young marriages.
Yeah. I think, but the a lot of demand have been a lot of requests to call back Nabila and Basita a lot. I would say the comments. The thing, even up to last month also, there was someone commenting, we want them back for round 2. So yeah, I agree with you about the talents, because I think every one of the talents that you mentioned, they provide a safe space for the people that they work with, and that's something that I really look up to in terms of what PPIS is doing for the community, because I feel that the society in Singapore generally, I feel, over the past 2 years that we've been talking about sensitive topics and whatnot, generally they feel very reserved in terms of wanting to reach out for help, and that is something that I feel is it's not easy for us to break that cycle for them, because if they don't have if they have fear of stepping out of their comfort zone, that's where I think it's important for us to let the listeners know, if you know anyone who requires assistance and whatnot. So like what Madam Razwana and also Madam Aida has mentioned, they have so many services that's for you. And then the talents are always thinking of new ways to better your situation for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I feel like our mission for Outside In is in line with PPIS in a way that somebody asked me, what is your vision for Outside In? So I like to think far. So apart from podcasts, I would like to be in all, we call our listeners insiders. So I would like to be in every phase of our insiders' life.
Right.
So people who listen to us, some of them are going to get married, some of them are married, some of them are becoming parents, some of them are buying a new house. Yeah, every stage of their life, we would like to be a part of it. Yes.
Not just to, I wouldn't say hold hands, but more of like, hey, let's enjoy this journey together. So I think Alhamdulillah, the community the community of insiders that we have, they have shared their stories with us. They have shared their thoughts. And thank you for sharing this moment with us. This kind of comments that we receive. I think it's something that I feel a lot of people tend to feel connected with the work that, not just we do, but also with PPIS as well. So maybe what are some of the, experiences that you have being so far, being a president and being a CEO of PPIS that you feel until today you have memories that you can think back of?
It's a bit hard for me to identify one.
Because there's so many.
Yeah, because prior to this, I was a social worker and I was working with the ministry, and I was there for almost close to 20 years. So I think it's a bit difficult to look at the spectrum of things. But I think the fortunate part about being in PPIS is, like what Aida mentioned, is the talent. And a lot of the individuals, some of them I'm very familiar with because we've been in the circle, in the same sector for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And some of the things that they do, I really like their motivation and their initiative in trying to push themselves to wanting to do better and not just keep their wisdom to themselves. So on many occasions in the past, we've been invited to talk about how do you work with Malay Muslim families, for instance, right? How do you, address certain sensitive issues? Because we have family service centers, social service offices across the island, but we may not have that many Malay or Muslim social workers, for instance. So I think this is where we really come in to add value, and I'm always very encouraged by the passion of our workers in wanting to go forward and share some of the best practices, and also to help, even like during COVID, they did a lot of amazing stuff. And even now, like some of the things that they do, like when we talk about like macam, they want to buy bicycle, then I'm like, why are you buying bicycle? Then you go like, because we have people who are homeless and we want to like make sure that, we can get to them, and things like that. So I think we have a couple of bicycles, right? Wow. So things like that, So it's really, really unique and interesting, So I think that is probably my my best memories so far, and I'm sure there'll be others as well as we continue to progress.
Inshallah. What can our insiders expect out of PPIS in 2025?
As I've shared, I think in the last, my priority is always the talents, because if you have, to put it simply, if you come to work happy, right, and we are in this service of, or we are in this industry of hope, right, giving hope, right, and if you come to work happy, you will be able, to be able to serve the people better, and for me that is my priority in terms of understanding the talents that I have in the organization, and meeting their needs, right, in order for them to be able to support and meet the needs of the families, right, or of the children, or of the ladies they are supporting. They themselves have to be in a good position to be able to do that. And I'm on a daily basis, I'm inspired, by the work that they do, I mean, each and every one of them, they do direct work, right? And some of these stories can be quite challenging, right? And it's a lot of hard work, HEART, not just the HARD, but it's the HEART. Or did I spell it wrongly the first time around? HEART, it's a lot of hard work, and I mean, I have to admit that I don't think, I will be able to do that. And I think the bare minimum I should do is to support them in the best possible way for them to be able to do their hard work.
Is the similar that analogy that people always use, especially in an aeroplane? Like, if there's anything, you wear the oxygen mask first, then you help the children.
Exactly.
In this situation, so there's your talents.
Correct.
You look after them first.
Yes.
So they are able to look after everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good analogy.
She loves analogies.
That's good.
I have another one.
Oh, another one. Okay.
If your cup is empty, you cannot pour out.
Yes.
It is a lot of hard work. But I used to, be in the ministry, and they were all offenders who committed an offense, and they are placed in the community-based rehabilitation. So under those kind of circumstances, what is really important is yes, your niyat is important,
Yep.
your intention is important, and why you get up every morning to go to work. And these are your involuntary clients, they don't even want to come and see you, right? But what makes you want to see them, right? So that has to be very clear. But at the same time, it's important that you have the knowledge and the skills, and to be targeted. So like what Aida was sharing earlier about our research and all that. So that's where we want to be in the future, right? So it's not just about offering all these services, but we don't know what exactly are the needs and in what way this service is going to have an impact on an individual. So I always tell my staff in the past, before I left the ministry, I had a lot of people, working with me, and I used to tell them, look, we cannot go on the basis of this is all hard work and then you have just bleeding hearts. You need to be targeted, right? Because otherwise you end up just macam you feel sorry kan, kesian, tapi the outcome tak berubah, right? Diorang punya situation tak berubah. So I think it's really important that you know where to get the resources. Kita kena macam lebih tabah lah, we cannot just go on the basis, like in my case, you really cannot, because if they are committing another offense and they're causing someone else another, harm or whatever, there's someone else going to become a victim. We really have to go and take them back, right? So, things like that, you need to be informed in making a decision, you see. So that's where your tools, your knowledge and your skills and all the different theories and all that comes in. So when we look at social work, I know they have this understanding that macam it's all voluntary work, right? You nak tolong orang, you can become a social worker. But now the system, right, is such that we really want to professionalize this, and we want to make sure that we are able to attract the right people and the right talent, because at the end of the day, they are in charge of not just a file or a case. They are in charge of a family or a child, and if you don't do the work, according to how you should be doing based on your knowledge and your training and your qualification, right? So I think what we are really trying to look out for here is getting that talent. We are very fortunate we already have that very strong base, right? It's about now how do we attract more, social workers, people who wants to, even when it comes to the board, right? We want to make sure that we have a very stable board with professionals who are coming in to really support, right? So I think we want to really amplify the work that we do, so that people will feel like even if they want to volunteer, because all the board members are volunteers, right? They don't get paid. So you want to make sure your volunteerism ada impact. Kalau tidak, you feel like, why am I doing this, or why am I here just sitting for long, meetings and all that. I think that's what we are really trying to look out for when it comes to individual.
Yeah. So if I may add, Prof. Razwana mentioned about your skills and your knowledge, right? And I think what's key to that is, to any one of us, not just individual, but to organizations like PPIS, is being relevant. And what do I mean by when I say being relevant, right? I mean, times are changing, right? I mean, we never thought of podcasts before, right? Podcast is something new. That's a new trend, right? And so we are riding on it. Another new trend is AI, technology, right? So you can't, when we talk about knowledge and skills, it's not just about remaining stagnant and using the same methodology, the same tools. Even in social service, even as social workers, we need to keep up with times, right? We need to leverage on AI. We need to leverage on technology, right? If you talk about our younger generation, a lot of them are on WhatsApp and on gadgets and all that.
It's part of their life now.
Exactly, not quite face to face, right? How do we, so in understanding these trends, these are all data and research, if you ask me, right? If understanding these trends, these new needs, right? So that's the new capacity, or that's the capacity that we want to build, right? And leveraging on the latest trends, so that we remain relevant as an organization, and we also remain relevant as individuals and as talents.
Yes, this is the evolution.
Yes, talking about evolution, I think I totally agree, especially in terms of children with phones. Even
this is the way to reach people nowadays.
Yes,
It's not other way.
Even when you're in the same house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Just a quick sharing. The other day I was doing my work here in this room.
Yeah.
Then Farah was outside doing her work. We could have just like opened the door. Sayang, you want to do something?
Yeah.
What do you want for dinner or want for lunch? We WhatsApp. It's the ease of communication. But I think I would highly recommend you to get this out of the way lah in between husband and wife. A bit of tip is good.
have the right balance.
I mean, of course, if you need something in a rush, then this is the best way.
Right.
But I think in terms of connection also, this shows also how PPIS has evolved over the years, kan? Like, you know, I think you mentioned earlier, 73 years PPIS has been running. Started from a group of 22 women.
Yes.
Then I saw the video also about how the progress and how do you, how if you were to summarize in terms of PPIS growth from back then until now, how would you describe it?
I'm interested to know the origins, the origin of PPIS. These 22 women, progressive intellectual women that, you know, carried.
What was the need? You know, Persatuan Pemudi.
Pemudi.
Wait, oh my God.
They're testing you now.
Persatuan Pemudi Persatuan Singapura.
Salah. Persatuan Pemudi Islam
Singapura.
Okay.
I got it right.
Yes.
Marhaba. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. What was the question?
The origin.
Origin, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know from the two of you, about 73 years ago, what do you think the social issues were then?
For me,
women not having education.
Women not having education?
Suppressed. Women are being suppressed because I feel generally at that period, 73 years ago, 1950 something, right? Yeah, that was
just
before.
even before
the war.
our
Singapore is
independence.
60 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So generally, women probably were the ones at home. You know, their sole responsibility at the point in time probably were to just look after the children and provide just to cook for the husband and be there for the husband when they come home from work. But from that, I think I don't.
And then maybe they don't have enough money to send for education for the children. Maybe.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
Okay, so that makes sense because at that time we just got separated, we just got our independence. You know, there was a lot of social issues, economic issues. We had limited talent. We had limited education. You know, we wanted to build up our ecosystem in that way to where it is right now. But interestingly, you brought up that, you know, you thought women were suppressed, right? When they were looking after the children and all that. But I just want to add this, you know, my perspective on this. I think at that time, our grandparents, grandmothers did what they are supposed to be doing at that time, right? During the era where they were home looking after the children, so that they can nurture those children. And then at the same time, you know, the husbands or the fathers go out and do the work. But now things have changed, you know. So at that time itself, this progressive women were looking at how can we get women to come out and do a bit more. You know, it need not necessarily be that they need to work, because those days I think there was a lot of limitations when it comes to women going out to work, professions and all of those things, you know. I remember there was one Malay drama or show, you know, where they were talking about women during the 1970s and 80s. They were all working in the factories, right?
You see a lot of images.
Mina Karen,
Correct.
Mina Karen. I remember this very well. I was like so surprised to hear this, you know, like, anyway, no, things have changed, right? So I think at the time they were very progressive and they said, in what way can women, you know, come forward and help? And in order to do that, maybe education, as you mentioned, right? So they started off with the Taman Asuhan, you know, and then subsequently now, if you look at it, I think our focus is still women, families, but our challenges are different. You know, so what has happened in 72 years ago, 73 years ago, maybe there wasn't enough focus on young people getting married, or even marriage preparation, or even communication between couples, which is what the two of you are doing, right? Because you realize there's a gap, and there's a lot of people who wants to come forward and talk about this. So things like that, you know. And then of course our social services has improved a lot. from those days to now.
Right.
We have a lot more, greater services, and I'm very proud, to say that Singapore has moved in trying to provide for everybody. So I think those are the things that we have moved together with our nation and very progressively trying to address some of those gaps.
Right.
I'd like to meet
let the
these
CEO
22 women.
Yeah. So if I may add,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's been an amazing journey, I must say. I mean, even before I joined PPIS, I've been a huge fan of PPIS. Outside in, looking.
Wow.
I mean, I wasn't.
I like that.
And now I'm proud to be part, of the PPIS family. And as I've said earlier, and it's beyond what PPIS is doing now. Is beyond just providing services, right? We have gone international. We represented Muslim women. We represented PPIS at CEDAW under United Nations, right? We submitted a shadow report, and we presented. This was in May last year, right? And more recently, we were awarded with the Charity Transparency Award. And we are so proud of that, because that's really the first attempt. Right? We vied for the award, and we receive it. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. I think the most important thing that I feel that the difference between talking about 73 years ago and today, and it's been mentioned quite a few times over the years, especially talking about women empowerment, about protecting women's rights and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So sometimes I feel that this term that is being thrown around very loosely about women rights, women empowerment, which I feel that sometimes we without the proper guidance, without the proper direction of such movement, I would say it will be very miscued in a sense. Yeah, but I think with the direction of PPIS, they empower women in the right ways. So maybe you can share with me a little bit more about how does PPIS empower women, especially in terms of independence per se.
I think the whole concept of empowerment, if you look at it, bear with me, okay, because I'm an educator. So I go a little bit long ago, the historical bit of it. I would think that you're absolutely right, that there are a lot of individuals, who talk about this, who talk about there are a lot of limitations, they're suppressed and all of those things. But the reality is that maybe the woman is not keen in going out to work. Maybe the woman choose to be at home and be a homemaker. So there's a lot of choices. I think the whole point here is when you look at empowerment, it's about allowing women to make that choice. It's creating that space where they are able to voice out what is it that they want to do. So for instance, if you wanted to start this podcast,
right,
you had that choice of sharing that with your husband, right? Yeah, and he was able to, he was willing to listen to you, and that's how this, great initiative came up. So it's really about what was that, did you feel like I need to go and fight, or do I need to go be empowered, or and all of those things? No, right? So you just felt safe, and you felt that I could actually raise this issue. So I think that's what we are trying to do, and as a nation, right, we have the conversations on women, and there's a lot of things that we are doing. But I think there is also maybe a bit of a cultural nuances that we have within our community, and it would be great if we could, get more support from our men, in terms of what needs to be done. So you're a good example.
Oh, sure.
Right? When she suggested, then you said, okay, let's give it a shot, right? Yeah. So I think things like that, so I think that's something that we feel that we cannot just do with the services, with the programs. We have great, social workers, we have all these initiatives, all the data and all that. But we also need the support from the members in the community, right? Every woman should feel like they have a voice and they are able to express what they want to do, their intention, be it podcast ke, ataupun want to do something else, or they want to do cooking, or they just don't want to, go back to work because they want to look after the children. Let it be, but they have that choice. So they can choose to go to work, they can choose to stay at home, they have the education, they are empowered.
Wow. Oh, I've never had that perspective before. Empowerment.
Yeah.
It's having the choice.
Yeah, because I feel that talking about marriage in itself. If let's say because me and you, we have alhamdulillah a healthy relationship. So if let's say we want something and then we know we cannot get it because our other partners don't allow it, we understand where we're coming from. But certain families out there might not have that luxury of a good communication. So instead of having the choices, instead of being able to make a choice, they naturally suppress their own emotions, they suppress their own choice because they don't feel safe in making a choice that they need to make. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Perfect sense.
Yes. So you're right, it's the open communication, right? And I think it's not about one party overpowering the other. So it's equal partnership, and we are also acknowledging the husbands, right? As allies, in the marriage. Allies. Yes. So it's about working together.
Being allies, because we have received a lot of comments, or I would say on certain videos that we have posted where some of the men, unfortunately, they are against what we speak for, and I feel that probably they don't have the same idea, and I don't want to enforce that on them. But maybe to them they feel that, as a man, these are my rights as a man. Yeah. So, but when you mention allies, that is exactly what we've been talking about all the time.
Yeah. Like you said, some families out there don't have the same opportunities, right? We also have listeners who are single mothers, who are divorced or going through divorce, and I think PPIS also have platforms macam, like you said, your family service centers, right? For them to reach out to PPIS for some support lah. Because we know that it's not easy becoming parents, but being a single parent is another level. Yes.
Personally, also I know of a few of my friends who are single parents, and then I would say they if I can help in any way, I can just push them to PPIS lah, right?
Yeah, go to definitely.
So maybe you can share a bit more about all these centers that that they can help.
We know that there are a lot, right? But
what are the three? What are the three that we know?
That we
work with before.
SIM Academy.
That is for relationship therapy.
Relationship therapy.
And then there's also
communication. Also Oasis.
Oasis
is for fostering.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Inspirasi is for
young marriages.
Couples.
Young couples marriages. Yes. Okay, what are the other?
So we have 11.
Whoa!
So we have what do you call it? The halfway house.
Halfway house.
That's called Rise Above.
Rise Above.
Right. That's Rise Above, halfway house. And then we also have brain fog at this time of the night.
Understandable.
We have two family service centers.
Two family service centers. One in the east, which is at Wisma Gilang Serai, and one in the west, which is at Bukit Batok.
Bukit Batok dekat sini.
Yeah.
Correct.
Then we have the student care.
Yes, two student care. Two student care. One in the east and also one in the west. The one in the east is at Bedok Reservoir. One in the west is at Jurong West.
Jurong West.
Okay.
Student care is
for primary 1 to primary 6.
Primary 1
after school care.
After school care. Parents.
Yes. Correct. Supporting parents, when they go to work, they can send their children to our student care
I can
center.
ask my sister to do that.
Exactly.
Because my niece is in primary 1.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, we also have the red space, what we call the red space. That's at our head office at Yunus. That's also a place where we hold our engagement sessions. We also provide legal clinics actually. Yes, so for women, right?
Legal clinic for women. Some of you might
yes,
I know where to go now.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Okay.
Wow. And I think apart from that, we are trying to use that space. In fact, this Saturday we are having one new series called Empowering Women series. Empowering voices.
Yes.
Empowering voices.
Yeah. So it's really about, giving that opportunity and platform for individuals to come and share. In fact, I think I have an idea. Maybe someday you can come and do your podcast at our Red
Yes,
Space.
Red Space.
Let's go.
Inshallah.
Let's do that, inshallah.
Yeah, come to our Red Space.
I can offer again. I would love to do that.
So then you can experience, this whole empowering woman thing rather than we are just telling you, you know.
I would love to experience that.
Like first-hand listening to them.
As much as I'm a man, I would like to know more because my wife is a woman after all. Right? I want to like what you mentioned. I want to support her as much as I can because you see. I say yes to your idea, right? See where we are. Alhamdulillah. Your power.
You empower each other.
Mashallah. So I think that's that. Are there any other venues?
All right.
I think I just want to, if you don't mind me, just adding on to two things that you mentioned. I think one of it was you were saying, when in a marriage there's two people, right? But I think the reality is that two people come from two different families.
Yes.
And they come with different values, different upbringing. Even though we may have the same, we are all Muslims, for instance, but our cultural, experiences and all that is very different, right? So that kind of like determines how you see the world. So I just thought that maybe, if there are men out there who may not agree with what you're saying, I would think that what would be the best way is for them to go and find out, and hear different perspective. They don't have to agree with everything, but at least they know what will be the best way to move things forward.
Right.
I think that's one thing I wanted to share because you were saying there's two people, but then I was like thinking, not really lah, because you come with all these other things, there, and then sometimes you also need to be mindful about the community that you're in, your in-laws, your like you were talking about your sister, and all of those things, right? You were talking about your mom, so there are all these other people's opinion that matters, you see, because we live in a community. So that's one. I think the other thing I just wanted to highlight was like, we spoke about empowering, women and giving them the voices, choices and all that, right? And giving them that safe space. I would also like to inform all women, hopefully, all those who are listening in, right, to realize that they all have strengths. So even though you could be a single woman with no male allies or no one else to support you, but you do have your own strengths, and what you can do with that is to sharpen it, to come forward and seek help, right? You're not alone on any journey, and all of us have got our own resources. No matter how difficult it is, somehow we survive, right? I mean, now if I were to think about our experience in, we recently went to Umrah in December, so crowded, but we survived.
We survived.
And Ramadan coming up, right? Now, kalau suruh puasa, maybe we will be thinking like susah or whatever, But Ramadan we manage, right? So it's really about when we have a situation, right? We have to look at it as this situation is supposed to make us stronger. So we just need to come forward and ask for help, because you may not have the social capital on your own to do it. You may not have the resources or knowledge, but we are there to help you along the way. So I think that's the key message that I want to send to both the men and women. Men, please come forward, and if you don't agree with something that outside in couple are talking about, have a debate and have an engagement with them, share your perspective, right? And for women, even though you're single or you feel that, I don't have the, a lot of people will be envying you, Farah.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, of course, because you have supportive husband,
Oh,
right?
mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, right? So things like that, right? So they'll go like, I cannot be like her because, I don't have this kind of support.
Right.
But that's not true, they can just come forward, we can create support.
Yes.
Amazing.
Creating support. Oh, wow, that's nice.
And I probably have to say this also. I mean, our faith, right? It's also, with Allah, it's also what He brings us through. And I'm reading the ayat that's right in front of me, right? Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best of disposer, or best disposer of affairs. So with our faith, and our inner strength, right?
As Muslims,
we will journey on.
Wow.
So maybe to just end that, right? Woman is not weak.
No, we are not weak.
Not weak, So we have the strength, we have the resilience. It's our circumstances that sometimes may look like making us weak, making us suppressed, So all we need to do is change that circumstance by coming forward and seeking help.
Yes, that's the first step.
Come forward, seek help.
Yes, seek help with a PPIS.
Yeah. But maybe before we end this episode, do you have any events up that's coming up that perhaps maybe our insiders can join together with us? We can even hey, let's go for this event with PPIS. Is there any events coming up?
Something that's ongoing now is our walk with women.
Okay.
It's a virtual walk, right? We probably have about another week or so, right? Before the walk ends. So it's a fundraising effort.
And January, is it?
And it's also encouraging healthy living, right? And connecting with family and friends, right? So if you just go to walkwithwomen.ppis.sg, right? You can support us on that platform, right?
Okay. Nice.
That's the most simplest thing to do.
Yes,
It's online also.
Correct.
Just support us on that.
Yeah, maybe you can go lah. I still cannot go yet. My surgery haven't
right.
You walk lah downstairs.
Treadmill cannot.
Sorry?
Treadmill.
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can. Right. So I think moving forward, insyaAllah, we have a lot more to share with whatever PPIS programs that is going to come up with our insiders as well. I really envision, like maybe one day we can have a gathering with our insiders as well to go for an event with PPIS.
Sure. We can work towards that.
Yes.
Inshallah.
Stay tuned for more PPIS lah. We have a lot more to share, like Yanto said, and a lot more stories, a lot more experiences, yes, that I feel will be beneficial to all our listeners. Inshallah. Yes. So we would like to thank again President Razwana and CEO Aidaroyani.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned something more
Yes, I
about
learned a lot.
PPIS. Yeah, same. We are not just
I feel empowered.
PPIS is not just kindergarten. There's a lot more to that. So you can always visit ppis.sg to find out more about what PPIS does on a daily basis. If this episode is not enough, you can always find out more lah.
Right. And also follow them on all their social media platforms. So before we go, let's say the tagline
together.
Inspiring women, strengthening families.
To the next episode. See ya. We've come to the end of another episode of Outside In.
If you like what you hear, please follow us on all our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify and YouTube.
Share it with all of your friends and family members so that they can benefit from this episode, insyaAllah. Till next time, Assalamualaikum.
Salam.